Expectations was a couple of weeks, that's why you take one set of clothes. Eventually they rot off you. You know, we shut ourselves to death, we starve to death. Some guys had to be on drips from diarrhea, otherwise they wouldn't have made it. Our expectations were in and out and go home. Our expectations were, when you return from this excursion, at least there will be a welcoming function, at least there will be a parade, at least there will be some form of recognition, not being treated like lepers and put away from your other fighting forces, kept away from the normal run-of-the-mill, kept away from the new intake. And the ones that plowed out after the national service got their medals at the gate with Kunene class. No parade, no fanfare, nothing in the newspapers to credit the fighting soldiers. The ones that were credited were the decorated ones and the officers, because those are the only ones that interviews were done with. Now that basic denial is the root cause of all the problems, because it happened then, and 39 years later it's still happening, and they're still turning out their backs on us. Why? Should we just accept this and allow this state of affairs to continue? I think not. No ways. Not as long as I've got breath in myself. I'll stand up for my mates, because those are my true comrades of the military. Not later. Later there were some exceptional people. Those were my true buddies.
You found that there were officers who were removed on rotation during Savannah.
Oh, plenty of time. Officers did a stint and then they were pulled out to go and do promotional courses. We underground knew, of course. He was either incompetent or it was a personal problem. Always the excuse was he had to go and do battle group, or he had to go and do staff course, or he had to go and do this. But they rotated on a regular basis. Why couldn't they do the same with the national servicemen? Why did some national servicemen fight for 6-7 months in Angola and were never rotated? Take Foxbat 1, us guys. By the time we reached Ebu, we were so depleted that you did not even know your crew members anymore. With new guys coming in, this one sent back with malaria, that one sent back with battle fatigue, then now PTSD, malaria, diarrhea. So you always get new crew members. You know how that influences the effectability of a troop and a squadron, the effectiveness. If the crew members don't know each other and they can't mesh and they can't work together as a team, they don't think. Yes, they send in reinforcement. Yes, they send in follow-up groups. But they didn't replace us. They kept us there. It wasn't a relief. It was a reinforcement. Stupid. Total ludicrous.
You were 19 years old when you started with Savannah. One tends to forget just how young so many of the ordinary soldiers were at the time. Can you give any illustration of the effects of what you guys went through on a group of 18, 19, possibly 20-year-olds?
Well, I think first and foremost, the thought comes to mind, they were 18 and 20, 16 and a half to the oldest, with some permanent force members that were 23, which is still too young, but he's already a career soldier. And he got shafted as well. I'm talking about John Ball. He was in the police force first. But a 16-year-old going into trauma like this, being thrown in, as opposed to a career soldier, as opposed to a special forces member, there was no selection, be it physical or mental, like your special forces would go through. We had to go and fight against special forces as little kids with just the barest of training. I'm not saying the training wasn't effective, and I don't say we didn't develop our skills. But at the time, was the SADF training that good to go and meet such an enemy? I would say no. And the denial of us and the rejection of us led to I'm sitting with a group of 150 friends who all suffer from extreme PTSD, who's all extremely pissed off, and with very, very valid reason. I'm also sitting with a group of guys that never had the joy to be grandfathers, to be fathers, to fall in love, because that's what you do at the age of 16.5 to 19. You start discovering life. You're not sent out there on a suicide mission to go and kill people. That's just not on. I don't think anybody in the world can fault me on that one. No ways.
39 years after Savannah, you came across an Irland armoured car again. Could you speak about that?
Yes, we had a recent excursion to Russia, and we went to the tank museum outside of Moscow. Impressive place, working tank museum. And I didn't know that it was going to have that effect on me. When I saw my little Irland 90, well, it was actually a pan-out, but it looked the same like the Mark 5 Irland. And I basically just welled up. I put my arm around it. My two Russian friends stayed behind with me. I told them, for the first time I told strangers about the happening at Ebo and what emotions I'm experiencing about this. The rest of our tour group couldn't understand because they fought on later weaponry, you know, not that old little piece of metal that if you looked after it, it looked after you. No, it was overwhelming, and it surprised me very much, very, very much.